Okay, so a very, very warm welcome, official welcome to our Met for June on the week that the UK was informed that the easing of lockdown restrictions and the reopening of the country is going to be put on hold for a further 4 weeks. I'm sure you don't need me to remind you about this. We all gathered around our TVs the other night to find out the news directly from Boris. Now, today we have a super group of contributors lined up and ready to shape tonight's conversation and to hear their views and news. And that group includes Karen Shields, who is the membership manager for the Association of Town and City Centre Management, keen supporter and contributor, as always, to Stockton Met. We're delighted also to be joined by Tara Connor, who is the Event Services Manager at Stockton Borough Council. Thanks for popping along, Tara. Joanne O'Brien, as I just mentioned before, is a business skills advisor at Tees Valley Combined Authority. We've got Lisa Beattie, the Principal Economic Development Officer at Stockton Council, and our high street friend and partner, as always, Matt Boxall of Wellington Square and Castlegate. And as always, we are brought together by the instrumental whirlwind force behind Stockton Met, shaping the conversation that's changing Stockton High Street. It is, of course, business leader Jason Maxwell of Stockton Business Improvement District. He's their manager, and I'm sure you don't need me to introduce you to Jace. We're going to pop over to Jace in just a second, but it is without doubt that COVID-19 has impacted our lives, liberties, livelihoods, and the ability to do something impromptu has been taken away for us. No longer can we go, oh, do you fancy doing this? It's all a little bit planned at the moment. It's definitely become the wider narrative of the Met as we've gone on through the last year and a half. And if you want to jump in, I should say, by the way, if you find the chat box at the bottom, and you can basically click on the chat box and pop your comments in there. And if you've got anything to say, then you can either jump in and say it yourself, or I will happily read it out for you if you don't want to. I know it can be a bit daunting coming on and talking in front of lots of different people. We like to encourage everyone to get involved here at the Met. So as I say, jump in on the chat box whenever you would like to. But we will come over to Jace to start off with. And over the last few days, Jace, I just want to get a feel of how it's been with the levy community, those further announcements, the delays that Boris announced on Monday with the impacts of, the announcement of everything going backwards. What's been the impact on the high street? What's been the conversations you've been having?
To be honest, the conversations that we've been having, thanks, Matt, have been more about people moving and getting ready to move across to Wellington Square and those types of things. So actually, the chatter hasn't really been about the extension of the roadmap, if that makes sense. I think people are living with it now. I mean, other than sort of the nightclubs, and you're still having to wear masks when you go into stores and things like that, I think people will do that anyway. So it hasn't been much around that, if I'm perfectly honest, from our point of view in the conversations that we've been having. It's going to hit hospitality hard, I think, as we know. Most of them are open now anyway, but you can't have the same numbers of people inside them. It's difficult with restaurants when you book in and those types of things. But I think people are kind of used to that. But it will be nice when we come out of the other side of it. But it hasn't been the focus of the chatter this week, I'll be totally honest. And actually, in some ways, I'm quite pleased to say that, because every other week we've been talking about the lockdowns have said this and this and the other thing, but actually it hasn't. A lot of the conversation has been fairly positive this week about other things.
That's great. So it's one of those things, as you say, it's kind of rumbling on in the background. We were all looking forward to the 21st of June. Obviously now it is 19th of July. What sort of positive conversations have you been having then? If you can let us into a few of them. We've
been having lots of conversations this week about funnily enough, about how people go through a planning process to move into new stores, and people, and Matt will talk to us a little bit more probably about how people are, from Spencer Mall are going to be moving down to Wellington Square, and other people that are moving. So there's all of those positive types of things. And we've been talking a lot this week about, like we mentioned a little bit earlier, about antisocial behaviour, and you'll say, well, how is that a positive conversation when you're talking about antisocial behaviour? That doesn't seem right. But actually, what it does mean is we're starting to have a conversation, and if we're at a starting point, then that's a positive thing, and we're not just going to let it rumble on as it is, because that isn't positive. And we've got a meeting coming up in the next few weeks with Julie Danks, who is our managing director of the council, one of the MPs, the leader of the council, and a couple of people from from the higher ranks of the police force in the local area. So we've actually got a really positive starting point to see what we can do about tackling antisocial behaviour from a different aspect, Nick. And I'm confident that it cannot just be about policing. I think it has to be looked at from a different angle. So they're the positive conversations that we've had. And as I say, it doesn't sound positive that we're talking about antisocial behaviour, but from my point of view, it's a starting point. So I think it's a good thing.
Absolutely. And it's, you know, it's one of those conversations. Every conversation has to start somewhere. You're right, antisocial behaviour. You might think, oh no, that doesn't sound good. But the positive things to come out of it is it's tackling and it's looking forward. So sure. Absolutely, Jace. I'm sure we'll hear from you as we
of course.
Bumble through this afternoon. We normally hear from you a few times, which is always thoroughly enjoyable. So I'm going to swing over to Karen Shields, if that's possible now. Now, Karen is from the ATCM, a membership body that supports and represents the town and city management industry across the UK. Karen, it's well, UK and Ireland, I should say, Karen. It's lovely to have you along this afternoon. Now, you're a not-for-profit membership organisation dedicated to promoting the vitality and viability of urban centres across the UK and Ireland. Let's not forget Ireland again. That includes 500 practitioners across 300 partnerships. I mean, Karen, you're incredibly busy. Yes. What's the picture looking like nationally for high streets? Now we talked massively, you know, about you know, very proud of everything that's going on with Stockton High Street. But what's the picture looking, as I say, nationally?
It depends on part of the country that you're actually in. So there is a lot of regional differences that are actually happening. I'll be finding that places in the northeast, especially those that have been relying on that multiple retail, are really going to start to struggle. You know, the big holes that Debenhams have left, the big hole that the Arcadia Group have left, and those are going to be quite difficult to fill up and down the country. So we know that there's some challenges there. As far as evening economy goes as well, and our nights out, I'm taking more of an interest in that side with my role with Purple Flag at the moment. Is there's huge staff shortages on the evening economy, you know, waitressing staff, bar staff, that kind of thing, which is going to impact massively when we actually do get up and running. And we've been expecting this. It's like a perfect storm, if you like. We've got lots of people who have left the industry to go and move on and work elsewhere. We also have the added problem, and I know we all hated the B word when it was there, the Brexit word. We were just getting used to the Brexit word, and the C word came along and we got COVID, you know, so you kind of swapped one for another. But that B word didn't go away. And because we've had a lot of overseas people and students that haven't come into this country now, we have a huge perfect storm happening there with staff. So we know there's going to be some really big staff shortages. And we know that a lot of businesses as well, because they can't open, now they've got to start paying the loans back. They've got to start, they can't have the staff on furlough, you know, so the furlough scheme is coming to an end. It's going to be an awful lot of demands on that nighttime industry. So we're probably going to see quite a few of those businesses fold as well, which is devastating. We are hoping, however, that once we get through the current position that we're in, that there'll be a need for those businesses, and we'll start to see other businesses springing up again to look at that need. We are seeing a lot of localisation, lots of people staying local to their centres, developing very much that 15-minute city. So in other words, wherever you go to work, leisure, all the things you do within a 15-minute drive time or walk time of where you are in the centre. But this is a pattern. We're fighting fires the same as everybody else. We don't know what's happening week to week. So you've got to respond and react quickly. And so, yeah, so fingers crossed, we're hoping that, you know, we'd like the infection rates to be lower than what they are. Unfortunately, they're not at the moment, but that doesn't seem to be transferring into hospital. So hopefully that's a good thing. And hopefully we'll get into some sort of pathway to recovery.
Absolutely, Karen. It's always fascinating chatting to you. And it's, as you say, it's very interesting to see that the B and the C word have definitely taken on different meanings since the start of last year. Absolutely. Yeah. Just very briefly, and I know this is a very hard question to ask and to sum up in a short while, but just briefly, what needs to be put in place in order to help the recovery of our high streets, Karen?
We need to be safe. We need to, first of all, make sure that people are safe. We then need to make sure that people feel confident coming out of their homes, because we've all developed new habits. I, for one, have got a new habit. I was always working from home, but I've got a new habit now of not going out as much as what I did before. So I'm actually in the house. So I need to step over that threshold now and start doing things. So we need to be welcoming people back. We don't need to have barriers to stop people from coming back. We don't need to have hiked up car parking charges or make things difficult for people. We need to make things easier. We need public transport to be more reliable, accessibility, that sort of thing. We need to keep our distances as well. Still, I mean, it's going to be quite a while before I think I'm going to be smelling somebody else's body odor beside me, and I quite like the fact that people are a couple of meters away, to be honest. So some things about this I would keep, Matt, but some others I'd like to get rid of. So I think it's about that welcoming feel and giving somebody a reason other than just shopping to go into their centres. And I think that's really important to have that diverse offer.
Absolutely. Jace, I think, popped his hand up there.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that are really important that Karen picked up on, and Karen and I were on another conversation last week. And some things, it is about confidence with people coming back. And we do have to make sure that we are giving people reasons to come back into towns. Otherwise, they won't do that. And I know we'll hear from Tara a little bit later. And Tara is one of the key people behind giving people reasons to come back into town. Because as a town, we are an event town, and it's key that we keep those things moving on where we can. But one of the other interesting things Karen said there is about localization. When you look at places like Manchester and all of the little suburb towns around them, they're becoming like little mini towns because people are staying in places like Salford. So they're not going into, for example, into Manchester. They're using their local towns, and they're becoming more vibrant, and the cities are sort of becoming less so. And there's lots of charts and information on that. So for us, it's really about how do we make sure that the people that are local to us, and we've got thousands and thousands of people living in places like Ingleby Barrack and lovely places like Fairfield and Hartburn and Stockton. How are we going to encourage those people back to our town centres? And what we have to make sure is people like, and I know we've got a couple of people from the council on board with us today, is that we need these guys back into their offices when they're safe to do so, but we need them back in so that they're spending and buying their lunches and things like that within the local economy. And it'll be those types of things that help drive us forward over the coming months. So it's really important that those guys and the office workers come back into our towns and cities, really.
Absolutely. Jace, thank you so much. And Karen, thank you so much for coming in and contributing this afternoon. Always really thoroughly interesting to chat to you. Appreciate it very much here at the Met. Thank you. Moving on, Jace mentioned Tara there, Tara Connor. We want to welcome her into the Met. It's the first time that we've seen you here, Tara. It's lovely to have you along. Tara is responsible for the programming and delivery of the council's events program, including large-scale events. Yes, she's all over surf. I mean, I don't envy you, Tara, because I know what an incredible event that is to organise. She's also all the specialist markets, the town centre event delivery. Tara's heavily involved in all of this. Now, the event service that Tara manages also supports external event leads who want to run events across the borough on council land. She leads responsibility for event management, public safety associated with event planning and delivery. Now, Tara, it sounds like you're incredibly busy, so we do appreciate you coming down to the Met. Now, like many business operators, the council are not immune to the challenges that COVID-19 has presented us all with. And there are many challenges I'm sure you faced and are still facing trying to deliver events in a COVID environment. Now, as we were saying to Karen, as Karen was just saying there, a lot of people are still not sure about going out the house and smelling someone's BO, perhaps in the supermarket, never mind at a multinational event. So as the event manager, can you sort of provide us with a quick update, I guess, of what Stockton Borough Council's event position is now, or even across the wider borough, if that's more appropriate?
Yeah, of course. Well, we haven't put an event on since December 2019, or an event of what we would call of scale. So that's really quite challenging from our service. We're a big service. But I guess just to put into context, in April this year, the council took the decision that we would plan for our large scale events in line with the government roadmap. And as you know, that the step 4, which was planned to be unrestricted, would mean that we were allowed to deliver our surf event. We're still on with that. We are still planning for Surf to go ahead, even though there's been a 4-week delay. We are subject to what the outcome and impact is of that delay. But at the minute we are planning, and we have to plan because it's such a big event, as Matt, you said there, we can't delay in our planning. So we're also working with other event leads for large scale events that are planned in for later in the year. So I guess that would be from August through to December. And that isn't just events in the town, it is across all the townships in Stockton Borough. And that programme really will come out in the next few weeks as part of the What's On programme, and also updated in the Enjoy Tees Valley website. So they'll all be listed on there. And then the usual things like all the Christmas events, Remembrance Sunday events, Halloween events, and other smaller scale community stuff that goes on regularly. We've been delivering our small scale activities and healthy lifestyle events or event requests. We've been processing them. So that's stuff like dog walks, sponsored walks, sporting events. We had an orienteering event a couple of weeks ago in April. I don't know if anyone saw that one, but that was delivered over in Teesdale and it was fine. There was no issues with that. And we're finding that event planners are really keen to deliver their events, even if they have to have an overlay of COVID in there. Obviously, there's some events that just can't lend itself to COVID restrictions. So I guess the impact from Boris's announcement on Monday is that we've had some smaller scale leads who have decided to just delay their events and just wait until that 19th of July date gets here, because it's just not worth their effort and time. And some events are difficult, like I say, to put in a COVID restricted way. I think whoever mentioned audience confidence earlier, I think that was you, Karen, you know, that straddles over two events. And I think the national and local picture of COVID will have a direct impact in how well they are attended. Just to add, with Surf, we're also doing a digital sort of event running alongside of it, although it's much smaller in scale. Park runs are also something that we give permission to happen on our land, and we're working with a couple of leads within Stockton and Billingham who want to reinstate their park run. And National Park Run have just announced that they've delayed their restart programme, which I'm sure you all know, till the 24th of July. And again, it's just getting that 4-week delay out of the way. So that's where we are really with our position around events. We're very keen to get them on, but public safety, as you mentioned there, Matt, is really our key. And I think a lot of our audience rely on the fact that our events are safe. It gives them confidence. So therefore, if we're delivering, I think they're quite keen to come to them, or I'd like to think they were, because they know that we wouldn't deliver them. And we've taken the hard decision, like I say, not to put a major event on since December 2019. I can give a little bit of detail on, sorry, I was going to say, I can give a little detail on Surf if that's needed.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Tara, actually, because I mean, it's, you know, I think it's quite exciting to have you in the Met tonight, because for a long time, you know, we haven't even thought about events, you know, actually having events on, small events, never mind Surf. It's kind of like welcoming you in tonight. Is that just, I don't know about anyone else, I'm pretty excited about it, because I'm like, oh my God, the world is sort of returning to some form of normality, albeit in the ways that we have to do it. But absolutely, yeah, if you could let us know about Surf. Obviously, 29th of July is when it all kicks off. And as you say, it's going ahead.
Yep, it is. So it is the same scale Surf that we would normally do in a non-COVID sort of environment. The only difference this year is that we couldn't bring in any international artists to Surf because of the ongoing travel restrictions. But our digital program that I mentioned earlier, that will really be the international side of things. So our artists are still working in their relative, you know, respective countries, and they will do something that we can all enjoy online. So that's really good, because it's really important that we support our artists while we're in this difficult position, local, regional and international, because what we don't want to do is that once we get past this awful time, is that actually that sector, that pot that we get to, those artists are no longer working. So we've been really really working hard to support them. So opening shows on the Thursday. It's going to be in the High Street. It's a show called The Bridge, and this event sort of gets built well ahead of the Thursday. So we're hoping that's going to build a bit of anticipation and interest, so people will start to come to the town and feel like, oh, what's going on, and you know, whet their appetite, sort of thing. The finale will take place on the Sunday. Just for those who don't know, in 2020 we had planned to move the carnival from the Saturday over to the Sunday to give the carnival, I guess I could describe it as more space and a bit more kudos in its own right. So we're going to keep with that model. So carnival will be on the Sunday, and then that will be followed by party atmosphere down at the riverside. These aren't my words. Party atmosphere down at the riverside, followed by the finale. The finale is a trapeze show, so it's quite a dramatic show with artists flinging themselves from one part of the structure to another. And as I said, the
Brilliant.
scale, yeah, the scale, not good in safety, but good for the audience. And the scale is as big as usual. We've got 44 shows taking place, and it's a 4-day event. And like I say, there's a bit of digital going on, so it'll be
Tara,
very busy.
It sounds incredible. I think we're all very excited. I think anyone who's, obviously most of us have been to surf before and know it's you know, it's a few days of just absolute escapism and smiles and laughter and entertainment. And I think more than ever, the world needs it. So, you know, I know the world can't come to it this time, but we can enjoy it on a local level. So it sounds absolutely brilliant. And we can't honestly wait to sort of see it and be back amongst it, Tara. So thanks so much for popping in tonight. It's lovely to speak to you. That's Tara Connor from Stockton Borough Council, their events service manager there. Can't wait to see that trapeze act as well. I mean, that's going to be brilliant. I hope they have to disinfect the trapeze while they're swinging between them, so they don't, you know, switch over, and that'll be very interesting to see. Now, what we mentioned, actually, obviously bringing people back into the high street. I know Jace brought that when we were chatting to Karen before. Bringing people back into the high street is hugely important. And I know, Max, at Ook, there's a particular app that you guys are developing, aren't you, that's looking to help drive footfall into local communities?
Yeah, well, who can't develop it ourselves, but yeah, we're working with an app development company that have got an app that they're looking to help provide communities with information that's going on in their locality, and it's linked to job creation and things, and it's really, really at the forefront of like technology, and it will be a real sort of innovative way to try and get somebody like Karen saying, who's at home, who's maybe's got a new habitual habit, doesn't really want to venture out too far, but maybe wants to sort of, you know, go to a couple of communities, not quite really sure where to go to, can go to this app and it'll give them all of the information as to what's happening. So yeah, it's really, yeah, interesting. Absolutely.
Well, we look forward to finding out that more about that as we go through our Met events in the next few months. And as Jace has quite correctly said in the chat there, I think when people know that surf is on and people know it'll be safe, they'll start coming down. It really is that, isn't it? Build it and they will come. I think it's going to be very exciting. I know I will absolutely be there in July, looking forward to it. Now, the bid delivers so much more behind the scenes to support their business community, working in partnership very heavily with Stockton Council, obviously. And Lisa Beattie joins us this afternoon. Thanks so much for coming along, Lisa. Lisa's the Principal Economic Development Officer at the Council. Got a quick update, because I know you've got to scoot off, Lisa. So you have a little update for us, don't you?
Yeah, so not a great deal has happened over the last month that we haven't spoke about the last time. We're still very much involved in the grants and trying to get monies out to businesses to support them in this time. We're waiting now at the minute to see what the next update is and the guidance, particularly for the leisure and hospitality businesses. Now we know that it's obviously another 4 weeks wait. So once we know that, we'll obviously get some information out to everybody so we know where we are with grants. I think it's important, obviously we was talking about there about getting people into the high street and into the centre and different things, not just getting people into shops. It's good that our employment and training hub is on the high street, and I don't know if everyone's been along to have a look at it yet or knows where it is, but it's right next door to River Island on Wellington Square. It's really good offering there, and we've got staff in, so you can just pop in at any point. I know there's been a few discussions this week with some of my colleagues around businesses who didn't know that we offer like recruitment services. If you're struggling to recruit or you just want some support with recruitment, we can do that. We can match candidates to your job roles. We can upskill your staff. We can retrain them. We can do it, all of that. So it's really good probably to go and have a look in there if you haven't already.
Absolutely brilliant, Lisa. And if anyone wants to find out a little bit more information, is it best to just head down or give you a shout, an email, or get in touch with?
Yeah, get in touch with me. We've got a Facebook page. If people are on Facebook, you can just go on the Employment and Training Hub on there. But yeah, do feel free to pop in as well, or we can arrange appointments so you can go in and meet an advisor and have a chat. Yeah, there's loads of different ways and obviously getting involved in it. So just give me a shout.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Lisa. I know Jace wanted to jump in there.
Yeah, we had a chat, Lisa, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago about the employment hub, and I think it's a really, really important part of town and something that the council deliver, because we see all of the really cool things that they deliver, that Tara's going to deliver with surf and those types of things, but very often you don't see the legwork that kind of goes in on the other side of it. We've heard recently that people like the Hilton and Leon over at Splash just cannot fill vacancies that they've got. They've just got numbers of vacancies from right across the board and some of them aren't, they're not just low level jobs. I mean, I know Danny's there from Hilton, but they were really struggling to fill the food and beverage manager's position. So the work that Lisa and her team do behind the scenes on that, I think will be really supportive for the town. And absolutely the one job that I would not want to be involved with throughout the whole of this lockdown, and Lisa is probably already smiling, is dealing with grants and business grants, because that would have been absolutely horrific. And I've said it before, and I'll definitely say it again while Lisa's here. They have done such a good job in keeping people informed and getting money out to people that were desperate for it throughout such a difficult time, that my hat goes off to that team every time I speak to them. So absolutely amazing job. Well done.
Thanks, Jason. That's good to hear. We can't wait for grants to be over ourselves. Hopefully not too much longer.
No,
we're gonna mention grants in just a moment, actually, just sort of rolling with that theme. And Lisa, thank you so much. I know you've got a scoot, so appreciate you stopping by the Met this afternoon, and I'm sure we shall see you on the next one in July. Thanks so much, Lisa.
Definitely. Thank you.
I know we mentioned Danny there at Hampton by Hilton. He's just sat there. Danny is sort of new to the role. Danny, I've just noticed you popped a little comment on there. Going to be your first surf this year, so we're looking forward to your christening of Stockton International Riverside Festival. Going to be wonderful to see you down there, and hopefully the Hampton by Hilton all busy and full by then, with plenty of people coming into the area to experience it, I'm sure, alongside you, Danny.
Yeah, we're getting there, but yeah, very excited to be part of it and obviously see what goes on. I've heard great stuff about it, so I can't wait.
Yeah, Danny, get yourself involved in the trapeze acts. I would say, if you can take part if you fancy it. I'm sure Tara will sort you out with the health and safety on all that. Tara's like, no, Danny's not doing a trapeze.
It might be a hidden talent.
You never know. If you want to jump in the conversation as well, obviously, we've got our chat bar there, just like Danny did. Love to get you involved in Stockton Met this afternoon. Someone who wanted to be involved this evening and to chat just about the grants that we mentioned with Lisa. Erica Legg is from the Aircon Group. Hi, Erica. Lovely to see you as always. And I know you just got in touch. You said you wanted to have a little chat about the grants actually from the council.
Yeah, so when I met with you all last month, I told you all about AirSafe and how fantastic it was, protecting you all from bugs, viruses, bacteria, all those things, so encouraging people to get back to work. I had a meeting with Stockton Borough Council's economic development team just this last couple of weeks. And what they've said is they've got some small grants up to the value of about £2,500. And they will fund for small businesses an air conditioning unit installed with AirSafe. So if there's any businesses where you would normally have customers in, or say, for example, you've got like a beauty salon and you just want that extra reassurance, you know, while you've got customers through the door, we can definitely come out and kind of measure up, you know, we can survey the site, make sure that we can get you an air conditioning system installed. The great thing about them, not only is air safe, is they are really, really energy efficient. They're cheaper to run than your traditional heating system. And not only do they cool in the summer, they also heat in the winter. So, you know, if you've got a room that you work from, very small office space, then they're a fantastic opportunity, you know, to get an air conditioning unit paid for. It's fantastic. We love ours here. So, yeah, great opportunity.
Absolutely, Erica. And I mean, after we chatted to you last month, it was kind of the perfect time for you to speak to us, because since then it's been absolutely boiling hot. Everyone's been proper absolutely mafting in their offices, haven't they? Like, oh God, I really wish I'd spoke to Erica and got me aircon sorted. And particularly, as you said, you know, the air safe stuff was really interesting. I know we had quite a few people interested in that afterwards, about how it can actually kill bugs and everything else, and, you know, eliminate a lot of bacteria in the air, making it places safer on our high street, to help lure people like Karen back to our high street, who's not, you know, 100% sure yet. And well, you know, that's perfect. So I say, so you know, if we were interested in that, I know obviously the council have got involved and said there are grants available. Do people just come to you, Erica, or is it actually go to the council first?
Yeah, if you come to us, we can take your details. We'll send out a surveyor just to look at your site and work out which unit and what size you need. We can give you the quote, and then you can take that to the council, and then they can take your application from there. Yeah. Okay,
I've got a question just coming from Michelle on this, Erica. What sort of cubic meter space do you cover? Is there a limit, either too high, like, you know, low end, high end?
Yeah, there's about, well, included in the offer, we've got, say, 2 different systems. So we can, there's one, a smaller system for, say, like, you know, like an individual, say, like beauty therapist treatment room, the kind of like small space. I'm thinking rather than cubic meters, I'll try and give you an example of a room. But then a larger system, which would be kind of the maximum value, you'd be looking at quite a decent sized open plan office space. Yeah, you could get one right in the end and you'd be absolutely fine. The thing with the air conditioning system is you need to have the condenser unit outside. So just as long as there's an external wall somewhere for us to put the condenser on, then you'll be fine. Right.
Okay. Technicalities as well, Erica. We'll let you sort that. So, Michelle, if you were thinking about whether it would be right for your office space, or you know someone who might be interested, then do get in touch with Erica. Erica, if you want to maybe drop your email in the chat box as well, and then everyone, or the website, then everyone can get in touch. Thank you so much, Erica. It's fascinating. I love it when people get in touch and say, listen, I just want to chat about this because I've got a really good offer. So appreciate that, Erica. Thanks for getting in touch.
Thanks for letting me on. Thank you.
No, more than welcome. And as I say, Erica, the good news with Erica there is when it's hot like now, for the 3 days of the year that it's actually hot in the northeast, we can use the aircon. And then for the rest of the year, if you're anything like my missus, you can keep the heating on full time, and it does heat as well. So that's absolutely perfect. Now, continuing along the theme of sort of business support, Stockton Bid and Tees Valley Combined Authority are going to be working in partnership to support the Levy community, of which there are over 390 businesses now on the high street. It really is the beating heart of the high street, helping them to access skills for growth and support from an expert skills development advisor in order to help pinpoint business skills needs, navigate skills options, and access further training and support to enable growth. Now, if that got a bit complicated at the end, don't worry. I've got Joanne O'Brien here, who is a business skills advisor at Tees Valley, to sort of explain it for us. Joanne, it's lovely to welcome you to the Met. Thank you so much for coming along. Tell us a little bit about this, and you know, what's sort of going on, just to break it down for us. If I kind of didn't understand what I'm saying myself there, so it'd be great if you could explain sort of the process and what's happening.
Oh, I like it in the simplest terms, so that suits me just fine. So basically, I mean, we understand it prior to COVID-19 restrictions and Brexit and everything that's going on, businesses are trying to kind of wade through the landscape of, they kind of have an idea where they want to take the business. They need to know where they can get skills and training for that, specific grants to support them, whether that be capital or anything else. So on sort of what we're doing within ESF Skills for Growth is we're trying to help small to medium businesses across the whole of the Tees Valley region to look at where they're going, where they are now, what things have changed, where they're going to in terms of growth of the business, and what that means in sort of what skills and training that they need to get there. So it's looking at different things such as reskilling and upskilling existing staff, whether that's recruiting new staff, bringing in people such as apprenticeships, looking at some of the schemes that are already out there, which is things like Kickstart. Now, it's a consultancy service, if you like, which is fully funded to look at those elements of the business and help people not only look at the training, but to think about the other elements of the business that they might need support with. And so what we do is in its process, it's extremely simple, which is great for companies, especially smaller companies where we know their time commitment is really important. You know, they're really sort of under the cosh in terms of things that they need to do on a day-to-day basis at work. So what we do is it's 3 separate meetings, if you like. So we have an initial engagement once the registration forms are completed and we've checked eligibility, obviously, which is SMEs in the Tees Valley region. Once we've done all of that, we have an initial diagnostic. So we find out about your business, we get you to tell us where you are now, what you think you want to do next, what the implications of that are, and sort of have a brief discussion about what kind of training might look like. From then, our skills development officers will then go through a full training needs analysis with the company. So it takes about 45 minutes to 60 minutes, not too onerous, find out lots of information about what those skills could potentially look like. They then take that information away and do all of that legwork, do all of the research for you to find out where it's available, how much it's going to cost, where it's delivered. Now, the most important thing to say here, we're from Tees Valley Combined Authority, so we are impartial. We're not actually looking at any particular sector, although we do, obviously, as most funding bids have, we have sort of priority sectors, but we're not constrained to any particular sector. We're also not constrained to any particular training provider. So it can be any training that your business needs, from anything on sort of recruitment side to retail, customer services, administration, finances, whatever that might be, we can look at that for you. So what then happens is one of our skills development officers, once they've done all of that research, they'll bring that information back to you in the form of the skills development plan. They'll say, right, okay, we've looked at the best options to get that skill and that training that you need, and they'll present that back to you in a document that you can then take away. And at that point, you can either think, well, actually, I need a little bit of time to think about it, so I'll take a little bit of time, have a think about it, and then sort of work out when I want to start these different trainings. And some of them could be short-term solutions, some of them could be longer-term things. So obviously it depends as well what you want to look at in terms of training. But at that point, you can also take the option that one of our team will help you do that brokerage. So they'll set up those meetings and relationships with the training providers from the ones that you choose that are your best options. Now, it's important to say that we don't fund the training itself. So it's the consultancy service that is part of the funded offer, if you like. But what our team do is we'll look at if there's funding out there where you can gain funding from elsewhere, we'll help you sort of set that up and make sure you're eligible for it. We can also give you lots of information advice, because lots of funding out there, what if you take one pot of funding, you can't then take another pot of funding. So you have to be careful in terms of which set of funding that you want and prioritize what it is that your skills and your training needs are. So we can help you do all that as well. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. So I'll pop my details in the comments. If anybody is interested, or if anybody just thinks I waffled through that, please get in touch and I will kind of try and help the best we can. We're also part of Tees Valley Business as well. So just to say that if you want to kind of drop me a line, if you're thinking, what other grants or anything else or support is available from the wider Tees Valley Business team, please do drop me a line and I can kind of make sure you get to speak to the right people and help there as well.
Joanne, brilliant. Thank you so much. It was a perfectly formed nutshell that explained everything. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much for popping in. And I think there'll be a lot of interest in that because, as I say, our levy community members can get in touch, can get a consultancy to look into the business. We know so many of you don't have the time to think about that kind of stuff because you're busy nose to the grindstone. You're like, right, we've got to do this, we've got to do all that. And you don't have time to really look at the bigger picture and look at I guess the way forward stuff. That's what Joanne is here. Joanne's email is already in there. Wow, I mean, as if by magic, Max has popped it in there. It's in. So if you do want to have a chat with Joanne and the team over there, then please do. That's fascinating. And we are also rolling out a marketing campaign, an awareness campaign as well to let everyone know about this because a few people probably it's maybe the first time that they've heard about this. But we are rolling out a marketing campaign with ook that are going to be making this available and making a lot of our SMEs aware in the Tees Valley. Thanks so much, Joanne. Jason, I'm going to swing over to you just off the back of Joanne there because obviously small business owners and family businesses, as I was mentioning there, you know, it's quite often nose to the grindstone. It's just, look, we're churning out, particularly at the moment when it's reopening and all that, and just you kind of doing the day-to-day stuff, putting out fires and everything else and whatnot. How vital is this intervention that has been provided by the levy and by Stockton Bid?
I think it's really important, really, because I think very often, and we talk about, you know, we see that our small businesses have to wear about 15 different hats, and they'll take an accountancy hat off and put a marketing hat on, and they'll put a sales manager's hat on. And actually, they don't have 10 different staff to do 10 different jobs. They have one person to do one job. And if they're lucky, they might have two. And given the current circumstances when they might not have the same level of staff that they had 18 months ago, what is really important is that actually that you get, sometimes you can become blinded by lots and lots of information. And I think sometimes what you need is for someone to sit down with you and take you out of your business for an hour and to say, this is what you need. We've done the analysis and this is what you need, because sometimes you can't see the woods for your trees. You know that you need help, but you don't know where to go for it. So a service like that Joe was talking about, I think is really, really important. And you know, I mean, I talk a lot about the mental health of our local businesses, and I think something like that can be really important because you get to talk to somebody. And I talk a lot about our business becoming, they get in their own bubble, and sometimes they can't get out of that space and they can't see what's going on outside of it, which is one of the other things that we're doing. Is we're working closely with a company called 3 Eggs to deliver a mental health and wellbeing approach for the small businesses that we don't think has been done anywhere else. But it's a program that we're trying to get off the ground in the next couple of weeks. But it's these types of things that make a massive difference. It isn't always about putting on events and bringing people into town. Sometimes it's just caring and looking after the businesses that we do got to make sure that they have some longevity. So all of these things add up to what a business improvement district can do. It's not just about the nice things that you see. It's sometimes about the nitty gritty that goes on behind it.
Absolutely. Jace, you're always spinning so many plates of the different sort of the different elements of it. But as you say, all of them equally as important, that we don't let any of those plates drop. I want to swing over now to our high street friend and partner, Matt Boxall of Wellington Square and Castlegate. Always joins us here at the Met. It's lovely to see you once more, Matt. Matt, can you tell us about your sort of top 3 priorities at the moment then?
I suppose from a business point of view, our main priority is transitioning retailers across to Wellington Square. As Jason alluded, we're now in the process of starting to see the start of a journey. We've got Blue Corn moved about 3 or 4 weeks ago and seeing sales absolutely rocket. We've got Elizabeth's Embroidery moving across to a new unit, which should open in a couple of weeks' time. And we've got, I suppose the big news for us, we've got Iceland starting on site on Monday. So from a retailer point of view, one of our big sort of footfall drivers in Castlegate is Iceland, and they start hopefully to open at the beginning of September. Apart from obviously the transition stuff we're doing, we I suppose now starting to loosen our sort of events team as well. And Chantal, our marketing manager, is doing some fantastic events, and we're doing our first kind of like event on Saturday through Father's Day, through social distancing in both Castlegate and Wellington Square. So we're now starting to look at our summer program as well to keep kids active and entertained through the 6 weeks holidays and that kind of thing. You know, throughout the summer, both at Wellington Square and at a proportion in Castlegate. So that's, I suppose, a good thing for us. And as we lose, as lockdowns loosen and that kind of thing, that can only be positive for football in and around the town itself. I suppose the last bit of positive, real good news that we've done is Stockton Stories. Now, Stockton Stories, I've already spoken to Alison this morning. If she's around, so she knows what I'm about to talk about. Our Stockton Stories is these books which we've done and we've had produced, and what this is basically is children from around the area have written stories, poems, other bits and pieces, and we've had them published around the stories, their stories around COVID last year. So this is a massive sort of win-win in the property management industry, and hopefully we're going to win some awards for it. These books are £2.50 each. I'm just going to do a little bit of a sales ploy here. These books are £2.50 each, can be bought from the management centre at either Castlegate or Wellington Square, and all the money is going to a local charity for reading in Stockton. Obviously, a lot of people in the northeast, a lot of people around the country know that Stockton is one of the lowest areas for literacy levels. So we've worked with the schools, and these books are now available, and they are fantastic. And we did a couple of events, one at Wellington Square last Saturday, one at Castlegate on Friday, where the kids could come in and read their stories to storytellers, and we had like an enchanted forest there. It was a real good, safe event. As I say, that's just coming out in the back of like loosening lockdown. So as I say, if anyone wants these books, they are available to buy now. As I say, all the money goes to charity. £2.50 each.
Perfect, Matt. Thank you so much. And yeah, go out and buy the books. They sound brilliant. I know Jane from Hi-Fi Sounds just popped there, but her niece was one of the contributors as well.
Oh, fantastic! That person, the contributors all get a £10 book token to spend in and around Stockton as well. So that's keeping the money into Stockton, with it going to an independent like Drake's or the national like WH Smith's. We've asked them to spend the money in Stockton, to keep the money into Stockton as well. So that helps the retailers as well. So yeah.
Brilliant. Matt, thank you so much as always for the update. There's loads going on down there. I know it all kicks off as well as we can with Father's Day stuff sort of happening as well. Yeah. So it's always great to catch up with you. Loads of people jumping in the chat. Sophie, David Valesky there from Archers Law, saying it's a great idea. Max, great work by many people in Stockton from community events, business, hospitality. Joanne's going along to buy a book. Jace is going to get a book and buy loads and put loads out there as well, which is marvelous. Karen saying it's a fantastic idea. Danny as well. It's great. I think it really is one of those ideas that sort of grabbed everyone, and in particular the marketing's looked great as well. The kids reading the stories and stuff.
Everything that's gone into the books is all done from local schools, and as I said, we had 610 entries into the competition, and to get it down to sort of 50 stories and read through the 50 stories about various different things going on through last year with COVID, and some of the stories we couldn't publish. We're really quite really quite moving. So yeah, the 50 stories that are in there are fantastic. So I've read through all 50 stories, but the rest of them that aren't in there, we could produce another book and another 3 or 4 books. So it's a really good sort of bit of community initiative and community sort of leadership with the schools that we partnership with.
Yeah, well, I think it reflects perfectly the community that we have around.
Absolutely.
Stockton and around our area, and what can I say? Stockton Stories too. Perfect time for Christmas, Matt. I reckon that could definitely, we've got all those stories ready to go. Fire it out there. I don't know why I'm telling you to do your job. You can do it far better than me, but there you go. Matt, thank you so much. Always great to hear what's going on down at the centres there, and it's always very exciting, and particularly now with everything getting back to normal. Now we've got 5 or 6 minutes left. I know a lot of people jumping in the chat there, finding loads of positive feeling and the positive thoughts around on everything we've been chatting about tonight. As always, we sort of normally finish off by heading over to Max and Jace, finding out what's going on with marketing and any other bits and bobs around the bid. So Max, do you want to sort of update us from the OOK headquarters?
I think I'll kind of let Jay sort of set the scene, because we need to clarify, OOK are an external company and we work in partnership with Stockton Business Improvement District. So we very much, do work in partnership with Jason and sort of ideate and come up with ideas. And I think it's fair to say, like what Matt was saying there, and Tara, all these comments around having a community space, and then in a COVID scenario, how do you innovate and create and put ideas back into the pipeline that will, encourage people to come in and enjoy these spaces and enjoy these facilities. So Jace, I don't know if you just want to sort of highlight a few things, and I can support you with other bits and pieces that have come in. I know you've got a little bit of a list there, Matt.
We've got various things going on. I mean, there's Humans of the High Street Series 2. We've got our Indie Street Stories and Shop Indie Street Stockton. Summer on the Street, the Arriva bus partnership. I mean, Jace, there's so much going on.
Yeah, we're trying to do so many things. Really, it's difficult to try and get everything out there. Really, Humans of the High Street 2. We know Humans of the High Street 2. Have I got that right, Sam? Because I always get shouted at. I always get it wrong. The second series is coming out there very, very soon. The first one was a massive success, so we're telling more stories, and actually some of them, again, I'll give you goosebumps, that some of them are really emotional. I mean, Jolene probably won't mind me talking about from Innovations, Advanced Skincare and Beauty. Hers was just so you'll bring some of them just bring you to tears, and hers is one of them, that they're just actually so touching. These are the stories of the businesses, of the people behind the businesses, and they're just a fantastic story, really. Shop Indie Street Stockton is something that we get out every week, and we try to push into people's emails. So if people haven't subscribed to Shop Indie Street yet, absolutely, you need to do so. But a couple of the things that we are looking at, and that we were chatting about on Tuesday, that we're going to start pulling together. We're trying to get Summer on the Street, so we're trying to pull together a series of smaller interventions so that people can come out and enjoy the high street in a safe way, which we think will be fantastic. Because again, one of the key things that we're looking at for next year is communities. Now, whether they are family communities coming into the high street, whether they're business communities or communities, you know what, we've talked already about antisocial behaviour, but that group of people that actually hang around there and cause a nuisance is still part of our local high street community. So we still have to do something for them. They are still part of our community. So we still have to help where we can and give them help and support. But yeah, the Summer on the Street will be great. And we're working on a really cool partnership with Arriva, who are the bus company. So they're currently out of town and are just moving back into another unit in the town centre. But hopefully we could get some great partnership work with them. They're really proud. They're really keen to work with us because of some of the amazing marketing and media stuff that we've got out there already, which is, testament to Max and Sam and the work that they do, that they've asked to piggyback some of the work that we do. So again, watch this space for all of those types of things coming up, because there's loads of things that we want to get off the ground.
Fab. As always, Jace, we sort of rattle through that list at the end, and you go.
I know. I was conscious of time. That's all. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, no.
And Max would have
so
done a much better job, but I'm just conscious of time, really.
Nonsense. No, Jace. It's great to hear, because it's hugely important, and the bid's always got so many fantastic sort of leading ideas, particularly Humans of the High Street. I think I personally absolutely loved the first campaign. Very excited to see the second campaign as well, because as you rightly say, it just brings a personal feel to all our wonderful businesses across the area. So no, thanks so much, Jace. It's great to hear so much going on. That is pretty much it, to be honest. Yeah, thank you so much for being with us. We shall be back in July here at Stockton Met. If you like this event, then by all means share your feedback on LinkedIn. That would be great if you can tag us in the posts and all that sort of stuff, so we can grow engagement and awareness for Stockton Bid. Bookings can also be found on Eventbrite, as always, for next month's event. A big thanks to Sam at Ook, who's just sat there quietly in the background. I mean, she sits quietly, doesn't say anything, but she's managing everything behind the scenes and making sure their events booking and management of all the technical requirements goes to plan as well. And of course, thanks to Max at Ook for coordinating the content, liaising with our contributors, shaping the narrative, and then the content that bring us all together at the Met. And last but not least, and always a massive thank you to Jason Maxwell as well from Stockton Bid for coming along and filling us in on everything. And of course, all our contributors this evening, those who chatted both on screen and in the chat box, and just everyone for getting involved. As always, we could not do this without you wonderful people here at Stockton Met. I would now say safe journey home, but that doesn't don't need it. Well, most of us are probably there, or some people are in the office. So if you are heading home, then safe journey home. If you're not, then a safe trip from your desk to the fridge or wherever you're going to go. Now we shall see you next month. Thanks so much for coming along.
Thanks everyone. Take care.
Cheers, bye.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. See you.